welcome, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Fishing with Odd Bait. I'm your friendly host, Mr. Jim, a behavioral health therapist operating Namaste Holistic Counseling. We help people create themselves rather than find themselves, help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. If you're willing to live the way that you are, if it's okay, you're willing to live the way you're living, then perhaps you can listen on. But this, more importantly, if you're not willing to live the way you're living, then continue to listen, and I would suggest you pay attention. And as always, today I'm joined by my co-host, good friend and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
Yes, and I'm over here busy diagramming that advice.
Mr. Mike, that's great, buddy. So we had some episodes where we talked about zeitgeist, which is the mood, the sense, the flavor of a time. And in this particular time, there's much uncertainty, much distress, and the mental health distress and issues are more like a tsunami wave coming crashing upon the mental health field's doors.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to note as we get into this conversation, we are definitely we are a mere, I think, 4 days away from the election. 5 days, 4 days.
Yes,
it doesn't matter because this is going to be later, and whatever the situation is, this will probably apply.
And this particular zeitgeist of this particular moment in time for us seems to be more of a one of conflict and anger than anticipation.
Absolutely, something that feels like it's been boiling over lately from the last 4 years. Of course, there's a lot that's instigated a lot of that in this year.
There's more apprehension and more anxiety and concern and worry concerning this election, Mike. So quite often what we do is we try to differentiate the meaning of worry and the meaning of concern. So generally, Mike, when I talk to people, people say, "Oh, I'm worried about this." Worry consumes a person.
Yes.
Worry paralyzes an individual. Worry dissolves a person into inaction. Concern means you're aware. Let me give you an example, and there's a lot of people out there who can relate to this example. Let's say the rent is due on Monday, and you don't have the money. You could spend the weekend worrying about paying the rent, which means that how much do you think you could get done, Mike, if you actually spent the weekend worrying about paying the rent on Monday?
Definitely not the amount of the rent.
Correct. So if we're concerned, then we're aware. Aware of the situation means we can take some action. People often ask me, "Jim, do you worry about your patients?" And I say, actually, I do not. And they look at me like I'm some type of an unfeeling, uncaring monster. However, anybody that knows me know that isn't true. However, I will say I am concerned about them. My concern means that I'm aware of their issues. And when I'm aware of their issues, that means that I can advocate and do something about that. So there's a different type of mindset, Mike. Mike, there's two types of conversations that people have. People with the outside, people with everyday, which mainly consists of people sharing their opinions with each other, and this time rather forcefully, and gossip.
Okay.
So there's another conversations that occur right inside of our heads, which, of course, as a behavioral health therapist, that's my area of where I play. So this is one of the reasons that New Year's Eve resolutions are rarely accomplished, okay? And that's because, Jim, what are your New Year's resolutions? Well, Mike, this year I'm going to lose 50 pounds. This year I'm going to learn Chinese. This year I'm going to go skydiving. But all of those statements, all of those thoughts and words are out here.
Yeah.
Out here in the ozone, okay? That means all I'm doing is making those statements to make me feel good about things that I have planned. Okay.
You have an idealistic concept of what that's going to be, but not the path.
That's right. So when we place things in the future, we make us feel good, but however, it gives us much of an opportunity for procrastination. So quite often what we've talked about, Mike, is that tomorrow is quite possibly the most dangerous word in the English language. Tomorrow. So, and we've talked about this, and everything always bears repeating. And I'll give this, when we commit to ourselves, we generally give ourselves many outs. So let me give you an example of in my own life. When I was in early recovery a while ago, it was important that I go to 12-step meetings. Well, I could say I'm going to go to a meeting at 8 o'clock tonight and have the best of intentions. But however, as the time drew near for that 8 o'clock meeting, I began to think of things like, you know what? I'd better vacuum the carpet. I'd better take out the garbage. I also need to clean the cat litter and these things. And I would generally sabotage myself until it got to the point where I could say, you know what? Arriving at a meeting late is incredibly rude. I'm not going to disrespect the program like that, but I'll definitely go tomorrow. Have you ever done things like that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, as this recording, we're getting ready for a pretty major trip, and I'm looking at my list of things to do and wondering, okay, what am I going to have to shed for this? It feels like I'm putting aside the things that I'd rather not do, and I think internalizing, like, I think I'm okay with having an excuse not to do it. So, absolutely.
So as followers of this program, you might be familiar with my best friend in 12-step recovery who passed away a few years ago. His name was Sam Heckel. Had a direct hand in saving my life. And I don't say that statement lightly. So if I would make a commitment to Sam that for him to pick me up or for me to pick him up to take him to that meeting, the chances of my attending that meeting would grow exponentially. Okay? So what we want to do, rather than trust ourselves, I ask people to commit to someone that they trust, they respect, and most importantly, don't want to disappoint.
I've seen that before. I think we've talked about before, some people know Jay and Silent Bob, the popular comedy duo and the movies and everything, right? Clerks and all that. And one was having issues with addiction. So they started a touring podcast so that he told everybody every week where he was with his recovery and how many days. Now he was beholden to all these other people, and now he didn't want to disappoint them. It's not just about disappointing himself anymore.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody needs to start a podcast and do this in front of thousands of people, but just that one person,
If it keeps you clean and sober, it doesn't care what it matters.
No.
So this is some of the disagreements that I have with other folks sometime. One of the common thoughts is that unless you're doing this for yourself, it's not going to work. Well, I don't care if you get into recovery with a mob with torches and pitchforks chasing you. I don't care if you get into recovery at gunpoint, as long as you get there.
Whatever works, and it's different for everybody. It's absolutely. I'm sure there's some people that can say, I did it for myself and this and that. But if you're trying that and it's not working, that means that's not the path for you.
So, and of course, I speak at a lot of rehabs and talk about this, and generally even with the patients that I deal with that aren't particularly in drug or alcohol addiction. However, as we often talked about, everybody's in recovery from something. So when I quote from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says that if you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these steps, we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Here are the steps we took which are suggested as a program of recovery. Mike, we need a program of recovery from anything. You need a program in order to plan your trip out west.
They're not doing this freewheeling, because I'm sure we will have to stop everywhere along the way for everything that we forgot.
So when I say we tried the easier, softer way, okay? How many times have you tried the easier, softer way through your life?
Oh, certainly. Kind of the you're talking about dealing with others, or my own kind of getting over my self issues.
Well, getting over your self issues, getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
We're always, this is a good example. Uh, how do you lose weight? Eat less, exercise more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that requires some effort, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And actually, I've gone through a little bit of that. I'm not looking to immediately lose 50 pounds or anything like that. But just like I want to be better than it was, at least as good as it was before COVID, and then we can go. And it's like, okay, you know what are my bad habits? Going out to eat, going in the drive through. You look at your fridge and say, maybe I don't need to get those hot pockets every time, and then also, hey, I have a treadmill. Let's use it a few times a week. Let's take the dog for more walks. And
Well, sure.
Jim, I lost nearly 13 pounds
Wow. Oh, good for you.
since the beginning of July.
Great.
So, I mean, something is working there, and I feel better for it.
However, the idea is it's the action and effort that is put
Absolutely.
into that.
Absolutely.
And all that exercising, there's discomfort associated with that.
Absolutely.
There's discomfort with maybe not for a while not having that extra piece of cake.
And there's a fight of like pushing myself and being disappointed when there's not that extra treat in the fridge, right? Because I said I'm not putting that in my cart anymore, And also, I mean, this is me, but I'm not going to the grocery store where they will systematically tempt you with these things as well.
So, what type advertisements do you see mainly for weight loss?
Fast results, easy to use, proven formula, just ridiculous expectations. Here's this workout system, and look at these buff people. It's like, no, that's not where I'm going.
The pounds melt off.
The pounds melt off, which implies no effort on your part.
That's correct.
Yes,
that's correct. Well, when I deal with individuals, I'm straightforward with them, and I say, expect discomfort. Okay. Most people don't train for a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
They want a sprint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They want the magic pill. I hear a lot, and especially with the weight loss. Well, I take this and da 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 da, and it seems like it's happening with medical concerns that people have too. Like, make sure you take this, this, and this. It was like, is that fact based or because somebody says so?
Well,
you got to watch out.
And here we really get into the gist of this particular election cycle. Merely because somebody says something does not make it true.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And as human beings, we have a tendency to be influenced by the last thing that some people see, that they hear, or read.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So we generally form our impression by that, and then we develop a cognitive bias called confirmation bias, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where we seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs. So many of the statements, the accusations that are being just thrown up into the air, there's absolutely no factual basis behind them.
No.
But however, all you'd have to do is say, well, that could be true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could be true. So there's a certain individual that's running for office who likes to throw things out there, retweet things,
mm-hmm.
which obviously have no basis in fact at all. And the answer to that is, why do you do that? And he goes, well, people can decide for themselves.
Yeah. It's a cop-out answer, first of all, above all else. And a lot of people will do that. And it's like, but and they'll put these ideas into the world. I think we're turning into a different topic here, but are you taking the action and the effort to criticize that?
Well, it's a declarative type of statements that you
Absolutely.
make in your own head.
Yep.
So, we're talking about worry versus concern.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about thoughts and making things happen in our heads. And the idea is about people finding their voice and understanding what's true and what is not. Always check the facts. So many of us deal with braggarts, and people who are full of themselves, dealing with this one particular individual, and they were having a real problem with this person that they worked with because apparently this person thought that they were the greatest at every single aspect of most everything in the world. And they spent the whole day bragging, and this person was getting very angry to the point of he wanted to quit or some type of retaliation against this person. So I suggested that rather than get angry and have all this emotional distress upon himself, all he had to do was ask the person, well, prove it. I'm the best, I'm the best gravedigger in America. Prove it. Convince me. Prove it. Convince me. That's all the 2 words you need to say.
Have you ever seen the meme where some big statement and you're sitting behind the old Lucy from Charlie Brown table, and it says, fact, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, convince me. Chocolate chips are the best things in the world. Convince me I'm wrong. Like something like that.
Yes.
Like it's really that kind of envision. You sit back at your table with your cup of joe, feet on the table, and says, convince me this is the thing.
So rather than when I deal with people, Mike, rather than try to talk them out of something or try to see them, let's say somebody comes in and they say, oh, I know I'm not ugly. I know I'm this. I know I'm that. I know I am. So sometimes I use more of a, when I talk about full impact mindfulness, I guess is a way, when somebody comes in and says, oh, I'm not good looking, nobody loves me, I'll say, well, let's assume that you're not good looking and no one likes you, and let's move on. But then that person is used to, when they make those type of statements, what are they used to hearing from other people?
Oh, people saying, "Oh, you're not. No, you're okay. That's not what's going on." Like they appease them.
Right. So the job of a therapist also is to gently confront people and point out blind spots. And when
or crutches, right?
When they begin to realize that, hey, I'm not getting the feedback attention from this statement, then they begin to question it. And then they actually begin to maybe bring in a picture for you and says, hey, I was here. Hey, how did I look in this outfit? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we want to take another perspective. We want to take another perspective of people. Okay. And Mike, is there anything, let's say if a person thinks this situation's orange and another person thinks it's blue, is there anything that the person who thinks it's blue going to say to convince the person who thinks it's orange to change their mind?
No.
Is there any person that is convinced that it's orange? Is there anything that they're going to say to the blue person to convince them that it's orange? No. Okay. So tell me the purpose of these conversations.
To make you feel better and make you feel, or to have a place for your rage to go in a lot of cases.
Yes. Well, and again, we're kind of referring back to many episodes that we've had in the past, and which leads us to the episode where it was entitled, Of Course I'm Right. So what is the human need to feel that I'm always right?
You want to just feel justified. You want to feel nobody's the villain in their own story, right? Like you need to be right. You need to have a superior feeling. That dopamine that comes with that.
I like that statement, Mike. Nobody's the villain in their own story. Okay, I think that's quite a quotable.
Do you think the Joker thinks he's wrong?
Sorgism.
You think the Emperor in Star Wars thinks he's wrong? Do you think the Klingons think they're wrong? No,
right.
No, not the Klingons are always the bad guys, but yeah, no, it's absolutely, there's an old, sorry, this is where I come from, but there's a statement in wrestling that the best villains in wrestling believe they're right, and there's a kernel of them being right. Thanos thought he was right in the Avengers.
Yes, he
right?
did.
It was absolutely, and it was the methods that everybody else could oppose.
Well, he thought he was actually saving the universe by destroying most of it.
It's a little bit of madness. It's a little bit of it's just
right.
It's a different perspective.
So rather than argue with people, and again, I use a lot of 12-step references and a lot of 12-step I use a lot of 12-step references and a lot of 12-step terms. And one of the things is if somebody comes to us and says something absolutely foolish and what they're going to do, as long as they're not going to hurt themselves, we'll, rather than point out the foibles of this or try to talk them out of it, we'll say, okay, let us know how that works out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Let us. One of the greatest things is let us know how that works out for you. Or we say, we hope that works out for you. I'm going to become an astronaut. I hope that works out for you. You know, I'm 57 years old. I'm going to become an astronaut. Let us know how that works out for you. Rather than quash somebody's dreams, we just say, okay.
Yeah, let them have it. And let them kind of figure it out for themselves.
Okay.
Right?
So, Mike, it used to be that people of opposing political viewpoints would refer to each other as the loyal opposition or my esteemed colleague.
There was always a sense of respect along with the criticisms.
So, and again, the 12-step concept is that it's a singleness of purpose that bind us together, and it says that we're people who normally would not mix. Okay, again, the singleness of purpose that binds us together. Okay,
and in that it's you know, if you're running for office, ideally we're all in this together as America to make America better.
That's correct.
And then somehow that seemed to have changed.
So with liberty and justice for all, all is an all-inclusive term for all. So I was speaking to somebody once and they were telling me what a shame it was that children who were eligible for reduced or free lunches were being ridiculed and teased by other children in the school. And I said, well, I have an excellent way to stop that immediately. And they said, wow, what's that? And I said, feed them all. Feed them all.
Equally.
Yes. Yes. So, and again, you know, if I offend people, that's the sense of sensibility. But what we like to talk about here, Mike, is things that are based on fact. And the fact is that the United States of America spends more money on defense than the next 9 countries combined. And that includes Russia and China. Of course, they're 2 and 3. But we spend more on defense than both of those nations combined, plus 7 more. Okay, so can we feed all the children in school? Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, and again, I don't want to offend anybody's sensibilities, but if we want to go back to the point of this, if we want to go back to the mission statement of the United States, of course, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we get to the mission statement? Can we do that? So, what's the mission statement of Cirgotron Media? What's it?
Oh no! I if you were to ask me what the purpose of Cirgotron Media is, it's to make cool stuff and help voices elevate.
Yeah. To make cool stuff and produce it and create platforms where people can put out their products, right?
Yeah.
And their voices and their thoughts.
Their voices and thoughts and products and whatever the case may be. But yeah.
So one of the mission statements of Fishing Without Bait is to help people understand that to avoid having definitive unrealistic expectations on their lives, to avoid a lack of serenity, and to have a platform for an eclectic roster of guests to give their views and a platform to share what they have. We're always looking for recovery stories. We're always looking for people to share their own experiences in recovery, and we've had quite a number of wonderful stories about that.
And a number of people that very definitely did not have their own platform to tell those stories, right?
Yes.
That I mean, we you know, how many times have we had somebody in here that I've never gotten in front of a microphone to tell a story, in front of a camera, in front of an audience per se, to do this, and it's the first time that they've kind of expanded that.
Indeed, indeed. So as we approach this election this coming Tuesday, I'm going to ask people to take the 12-step concept of doing the next right thing. And my friends, what we have here is the concept of do no harm. Do no harm to anyone or anything, as the Buddha said. And at the end of every podcast, we offer a free prescription. Fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. A large prescription of hope for you all. Namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast.
If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait.
This show is a member of the Cirgotron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at cirgotronmedia.com.